What's cracking, everyone? My name is Ulrich, and we're back at it again with scripting. So last time we looked at printing and the basics of it, and this is the script that we wrote last time. So as you can see, I'm in the same place as before. So if you didn't watch or didn't understand the last video, please go back and rewatch it because it's important that you understood what we were going through in that video to be able to understand what's going on here. With that said, though, today we will be looking at variables. So variables are used everywhere, not just in Roblox Studio scripting, like all types of coding and scriptings, because variables, they're super useful. You'll be using them pretty much everywhere. So yeah, it's an important concept to understand. So a variable is basically like a box. That's usually how it's described. So imagine it's like a moving box. So it has a name, and in that variable you can store a value. And that makes it really easy to reference. So every time you want to access what's in that box or want to access the value that the variable has, you just have to reference the box. So remember, you have a box, you give it a name, and you give it a value. And the good thing about variables is that you can both read variables, like read what information they have in them or values or whatever you want to call it. And besides that, you can actually rewrite it. So if I have a box with the value being the number 3, I can then later change that to being the number 7. So let's get started with that. So in your script, as you noticed before, I just removed everything we did in the last video. Also, I didn't actually add a challenge because I didn't find it necessary. It was too basic to really create a challenge on. So the first thing you want to say to declare a variable is say local. And by the way, when I say declare a variable, that's basically a fancy talk for making a new variable. So remember, declaring a variable means creating a new variable. So you say local, then you want to say the name of your variable, and this needs to be in one word. So I'm going to call it my new variable. So there are different naming techniques for how you want to name your variable. Remember, it has to be in one word, but other than that, you can use capitalized letters, non-capitalized letters, or whatever. I usually say that the first word is never capitalized, and every new word is starts with a capitalized letter with it. Sorry, that didn't make any sense, but in this case, it consists of three words, which is my, new, and then variable. So each of the three words start with a capitalized letter, except for the first one. You can just sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. So just name it whatever you want. So this is going to be the name of our variable. So then you can say equals to, and this is important. It needs to be one equals to sign. I mean, you can do like without spaces, but please do spaces. It will keep it a lot cleaner and nicer to look at. So then you want to say the value of your variable. So this can be anything. This can be text, like we looked at last time, quotation marks text, or it can be any number, like 1 or 0.3. Or it can be a Boolean. Actually, we didn't talk about Booleans, but basically we have three different value types. There are actually a lot more, but for now, let's stick it to 3. So the first value type is text. This is called the string value. These you always put in quotation marks. So we worked with string values last time. Right, so that's the first type of variable. Type of value. Jesus Christ, this isn't making any sense. Anyway, next one is number. That's pretty simple. You can just set it to be any number. It can be 9, it can be 3, it can be 4.7, really anything. It can also be a mathematical equation, 5 plus 5. Right, so and the last one is a Boolean value, or bool for short, which we actually didn't talk about. It's basically a true or false value. It can either be true or it can be false. And that's the two values you have. So for now, I'm just going to say 3 point. Actually, let's just do 3. So this is my variable. So it consists of three things. The first one being local, the next one being the name of your variable, the third part being the equals to sign, meaning that you're setting a value for the variable, and the fourth part is the actual value to your variable. So now we have created a variable. It's really as simple as that. Now we can use this to print this variable. And remember, this time we don't need to put it in quotation marks, because if we did, it would just say my new variable in the output console. So remember, we did this last time. Now we're printing this variable, which basically means we will be printing whatever value this variable has. So let's run it. Also, I apologize if I'm kind of rambling. It's kind of late, so yeah, as always, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. It's like important that you understand this stuff. So yeah. Anyway, we'll just wait for it to load, and once again, per tradition, I didn't open the output console yet. So if we open the output console, you'll notice that it says 3, because that's the value we set our variable to be. Now let me just demonstrate rewriting a variable's value. So I said that you can create a variable and you can set a value to it, but I also said that you can rewrite it. So to rewrite it, you simply say the name of your variable, then equals to, and then your new variable. So the exact same as making a new variable or declaring a variable, as it's called in a programming language, except now you're not saying local. And that's because local you only say when you create the variable. Now this time we haven't created a variable, we are already using an existing one, so we won't say local. If I said local here, it will create a secondary variable, and sorry, I just made a typo there. But yeah, it will create a second variable called my new variable, which would be hella confusing. So yeah, no local here. And you'll notice that hopefully it should now print 7 instead, because we first set it to 3, then we set it to 7, and then we print it. And as you'll notice here, when we load in, if we look in the output console, it says 7, which is nice. Now, variables can be used pretty much anywhere, and as a last example before we end this video, I'll just show this. So I'm gonna make like a very basic calculator. So I'm gonna say local num1, which is my first number, equals 4, and local num2 equals 7. And then I can make another variable called local result equals, and then I'm gonna make the sum of these two numbers. So I'm gonna say num1 plus num2. So remember, we could set variables to be mathematical equations. Like instead of saying 7, I could say 2 plus 5. But we can also make mathematical operations with variables again. So let's see about this. So, oh, actually, I forgot to print it. So I've created two number variables, which are 4 and 7, and then I've created a third result variable, which pluses the two number variables together. And then I need to print, of course. So print result. And let's go and test that right out. And after this, I think we are pretty much done. And sorry, I was kind of rambling, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, and as you'll notice, it now says 11 in the console, because 4 plus 7 is equal to 11. No rhyme intended. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything about variables. I mean, you'll definitely see them appear a lot in scripting, and there are a few more parts we didn't talk about, such as not having this local at all when forward declaring, but don't worry about that. Sorry, don't worry about that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for today. Actually, let me just let that stay here. And your challenge for next video is to create a basic calculator like I did with mine. So it can be plus, but it can also be multiplying, or it could be subtracting, really anything you fancy. And if you want to take it a step further, set one of the numbers to be a mathematical operation and then print that result. So that'll be your challenge for next time. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll hit you up in the next video. And yeah, that's was it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.